Hello, everybody. It's the 9th April 2025, and it's a bit more than 24 hours ago that we heard something which I don't know. We made party all night long. We didn't sleep at all. Our life is great again. It was bad, but it's great again. And it's all because of this news we got. LD, let's cheers. Cheers.
Cheers, my friend. It's been
It's
a
been
long time coming.
it's been a pleasure that you are in my life, that we can celebrate this together, that we can it's I don't have words.
What a day. What a day it's been.
What a day.
Got to keep these on because the future of the game is so bright that I can hardly see, right? I'm really the outlook is so positive that it's just you gotta have the sunnies on for a bit.
We just
Yeah,
don't
man,
talk about that we will complain in a week again, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's gonna be good. Someone can cut this right now with next week when I'm like pulling my hair out, like, oh, we've got to ban Diablo. Why is Diablo legal? But for now, just breathe it in for a moment. You just got to breathe in for 5 minutes and enjoy that. Some things that were too good have come down some notches, and things there are chances to do new stuff.
Life is so beautiful. Life is just beautiful, you know. Yeah, this is a special episode, friends. It's maybe a bit shorter than normal episode because we just talk about the thing that all of us got surprised by, but the most people, I think, in a positive way. Yeah, let's talk about the ban. First of all, I have to apologize, LD, because it's the second or third time that someone, I just want to mention this shortly, that someone made a comment in our podcast and say, I interrupt you too much. Yeah.
You interrupt me?
Yeah.
I always feel like I interrupt you. And if you didn't as well, I'd just keep on yapping. Like, if you didn't cut in, I would just sit here talking about nothing for ages.
Because the third time they said, like, they really wanted to hear your opinion, but ArtaCast, I appreciate all you do, but you always interrupt it. I try to be more to not interrupt it that much.
No, I don't know. I like the flow of things. It's good to cut in. You have to. Makes the conversation natural. But yeah, I get it. But I feel like I do it too.
If you didn't feel like, then it's fine. Okay.
I've actually got to take these off.
Okay, let's talk about, first of all, what happened for the people that don't know. We got the first bans in Lorcana TCG history. I mean, you could say the Bucky was also a bit of a ban, but it's not a real ban. It was an errata, but technically it was a ban because the card became unplayable for competitive play. But now we got a real ban, like 2 cards are not legal anymore to include in your deck list, and that's Hiram Fortisphere and Fortisphere. I mean, Hiram Fortisphere was for the most people not a very surprising thing. I mean, it was one of the cards suggested to what the most people suggested to ban. Fortisphere was a bit of the surprise for some people. But at least for me, I get it. But maybe I want to start. Let you start talking first. How do you feel with these bans, and do you think it's the right thing to do from them? And are you happy with that?
I feel, first of all, I think that like some people are a bit scared of the precedent. Like the first bans, it shows that bans can happen, right? There's always got to be a first ban, even though, like you say, Bucky was effectively a ban. It was completely destroyed into unplayability, but it wasn't a ban. This is. I think that's good. Like an active ban list is good for games. TCG design is incredibly difficult, and to design that you can't ever hope to launch continuously launch these products throughout the year that are tested months and even years in advance and hope for them to be absolutely perfect. So, in the absence of, if you accept that perfection is not realistically attainable, an actively managed ban list is your answer to that, and it's how you keep the game really fresh. I was thinking about this a little bit earlier, and we'll talk about the specific cards, but on the whole, like I personally just like love a ban list because it's almost like I get the same feeling that I get with the new set, which is that you take out key cards from a metagame, the whole metagame shifts, and you're working out like what can thrive in this. You're thinking the same way you think when you see new cards, and that's the most fun time for me. So while I'm sure some people will be upset, like this does disrupt some decks, I think they can evolve in meaningful ways, but it is also like there's a rush of excitement for a lot of people. What can we do now? What can we play? And I think the answer is like tons of stuff gets better. It gets way more open. And yeah, first impressions are really good. So I don't know. Have you played and tested stuff yet for this format?
Yeah, I was actually in locals today
Okay.
with quite a positive feeling after that. And it's still very, very unsure for me how the meta will develop. It's not easy to say right now, I think. I mean, there are some really decks that existed for a very long time and probably have their spots in that meta game, I think, probably. But in which extent and stuff, it's hard to say. In the first feeling, it seems like a wide open meta game, but that's really early set,
Yeah.
That's just my first feeling that I don't think something is super busted. But maybe we come to that later. I first wanna ask you: do you think it were the right cards to ban?
Yeah, good question. Hiram for sure. Like that to me, there's no question. Like this card was just absurdly powerful, and for a really long time, I come from playing Magic, and you look back when you look back at some cards in the first few sets of Magic, there are a few things you can point to that you just look at and think, how did this ever exist? And as Lorcana's developed, I've wondered, like, are there going to be any cards like that? And for a really long time, I thought it would be Whole New World. I really thought that, like, we would look at some point this would be too good. It's kind of always been very, very good, but at some point we'd get bored of dealing with this, and it would be this thing we can point to as like, why were we ever doing that? That's just so crazy. But now I really believe it's Hiram. I unless the game gets power crept like crazy, just the combination of the amount of cards this draws, what that enables you to do, um, in these blue decks is just it's really really wild. It's you've got the ability to just play a ramp deck that draws as many cards as a control deck sort of thing. It's almost like bending what should be impossible within the identity of each color. Like durdling around with purple cards is how you primarily gain card advantage. But there are lots of ways to do it in the game, but that's sort of the primarily a purple trait. So these blue red decks were like they felt like blue red purple decks. You had this
Yeah.
thing that was more efficient than Rabbit at drawing cards, plus all the red removal, plus all the blue ramp. You missed like nothing. The deck was crazy. So Hiram for me is like it's an open and shut case. It's just I'm really glad it's gone because it just filled way too many gaps for some of these decks and just made it so hard for people to keep up on resources. Fortisphere is much more interesting, in my opinion. I think I can see why if you just get rid of Hiram. I still think that these eight Porpsicle Bell decks are really, really, really good still. And when you've enacted a ban, I guess you always want to see meaningful change in the metagame. So if you banned Hiram and then nothing changed, like it just went to blue red falls off a bit, but blue steel crushes people, it would maybe feel like it didn't go far enough. So something on the item package also has to go. And I think Porpsicle stays because blue has items as its identity. there's a ton of other cards that get way worse if Porpsicle's gone. Like your Tamatoas just get significantly worse. Your like Nick Wilde has the word Porpsicle printed on it. That throws things up into the air. Like you don't want to ban a card that makes another card directly unplayable. So yeah, I don't. And you're the blue steel guy. What are your thoughts on Fortisphere? Do you think that was the right thing to do, or?
It's the first time I'm called a blue steel guy.
Yeah,
I was a bit of a blue steel guy. Yeah, no, I think everything you said is probably correct. What I want to add for the Hiram ban is because I saw many people complaining a bit. I mean, some people, if you love red blue, it's of course a bit, a bit disappointing. But they say like it existed since set 2 and nobody cared and so. And then I think a card is always good in context, you know. A card is not broken by itself. So if you have Hiram and you would have no ability of gaining by that a massive card draw, completely broken board control by that, for example, then the card you draw by this doesn't mean too much. You see it a bit like when in the green blue deck, you know, they can draw sometimes cards like crazy, but sometimes I don't know what do they do with it. You know, they're dirtling around and then they're playing a mana or something and try to close the game, but they had nothing like Sisu or something which was really they could use that card advantage. That tempo loss, you could say. If it's not, that wasn't nearly this. Also the broken thing that Heim was not a crazy tempo loss. I mean, always if you're committing card draw into your turns, then it's most of the time a bit of a tempo loss. But the ability to gain that back was so crazy good in red blue.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean anything.
Really forgiving.
Really forgiving. That's a very good explanation.
If you made a few poor decisions and lost a few resources, it just didn't matter because you draw 4 over the course of 2 turns for so little investment. And
the Fortisphere, I think it's probably for the most part better in my opinion. Probably they just don't want it to be that consistent. They wanted it more probably like a Diablo stuff. Like now it's a bit of a high roll if you hit her. If you play it with blue, it's kind of playable maybe still, but it's in high roll now. Before it was no high roll. Now it's a high roll to hit Bell. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Fortisphere probably also because it just still doesn't draw cards, you know. I mean, they most of the time they draw a discard like the Mulan or Simba 1-drops, or like that's steel card draw. Yeah, no, it's card and drawing and discarding. It's not. I mean, the Sad Beast maybe. Yeah, a bit of card draw they have, but not. It just they wanted just to have the steel the worse items than blue, I think, and then because blue is the item color probably. And like if it's always like in Lorcana, if some other color gets something like other colors, then it's worse. How can I explain it? For example, red got Teeth and Ambitions. It's so much worse than Storm or something, but at least they got something. You know, it's or there are probably some other examples too. And Fortisphere didn't fit in this picture of the game probably, and and probably it was a bit how can I say, not very justified, or so how can you say, if you ban 2 blue cards, you know, then it's a bit it's a bit weird to punish blue double. In the end of the day, it wouldn't matter too much if you ban either of those. I think it probably doesn't matter too much, but for the sake of the game, I think it's a good thing. And Hiram is probably, I expect the meta game, that's what I think, to slow down a crazy amount. That's just my first impressions, because
Yeah.
you just don't need to do that wildly powerful tempo things anymore, because that's how that was the only way to beat the blue decks, and that's probably not needed anymore. And probably you can sometimes even more for outvalue game plan or something. That's just my first in my first
I agree.
insight or something.
Yeah, the only meaningful way to fight red blue was to race it for a lot of decks, right? Like you could get into mid-range grindy battles with it with a few of the other things like blue steel, but it was just a massive war of attrition. For a lot of other decks that had bad matchups, the option was like race or lose the late game. So yeah, the stuff they were playing to race really aggressively might not be as needed anymore. Yeah, and I guess first impressions, aside from that, a few things that blue red in particular was doing a very good job of suppressing, like amber steel. Probably gets a ton better, almost to like a scary level. Like that deck just goes wild when it's unchecked. Like I don't know what. We'll see what checks it. The Diablo stuff. There's big winners. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I interrupted you.
No, but I want to be interrupted. That's conversation. If I didn't want conversation, we'd just record our own videos separately.
No, I think I just wanted to say Amber Steel checks itself a bit, like it's a bricky deck.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's not that it crushes everything. Like I think it's a fair matchup spread, probably what Amber Steel has. I think I'm not too scared about that. I'm scared a bit about some other things, but maybe we come to that later. The first. Or did you want to add something?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I was gonna start running over like big winners, but just at a really high level. I think it's basically obviously everything that was getting really squeezed by red blue. Because red blue was the one that lacked the counterplay from my point of view. Things that had bad blue steel matchups, they could meaningfully adapt. The red blue stuff, there was way less room to meaningfully adapt. So amber steel, a lot of the Diablo stuff, and like maybe some red purple and everything, and things like that as well. Those strategies look a bit better to me.
I firstly wanted to mention that. Just wanted to say that yesterday I was supposed to play against Moyen in the LCCC, and then 1 hour before the game, the announcement came, and it would have been weird to play then, with banned cards actually. And then we decided together that we postpone, or how do you say that? Postpone this game and make it a week later. And we are allowed to change colors even. So we are completely new. It's a completely new, like you said, like a new set, you can say. So everything is open. And I'm wondering, first of all, I hope that Moyen doesn't listen today. Thank you, Moyen. And yeah, I would like to ask you first, but you spoiled it a bit. What do you think are the big winners? You say Amber Steel. First impression, Amber Steel. What do you think could also be really good, or just for the first impression? I think it's probably hard to say, but
it's tough because I think that for a lot of people, the major excitement / fear, depending on your perspective right now, is all focused around Diablo. So green purple discard was rising so well, it was contesting for tier 1 in a lot of people's eyes, and then its worst matchup gets way worse. Surely this deck thrives. Yes, I would say on paper the deck is way more powerful, and Diablo stuff in general is likely to see a massive uptick. So you can play those things, but you should do so knowing that it has a pretty huge target on its back now, and I think green purple discard was getting away with quite a lot as a result of being an unknown deck. It's entered the mainstream. It's known. like mainstay in this metagame now that you can expect to play against in tournaments, I think. And as a result, it gets a little bit more hated out. And I think, yeah, that doesn't mean don't play it. I'm definitely not saying that. Like it's really powerful. But Diablo is the default big bad of the current format. That the same way that Hiram was and Sisu was. Now you're primarily thinking about making sure you've got Diablo answers because that's where a lot of people are looking. But personally, the first place I looked is like back to traditional green purple. Like, what can we do? Like, is there a chance to play that again now? If there are less of these 8 Porpsicle Bell decks running around, can we go back to just playing like fair green purple? I would love to do that. And I think first impression is it's certainly possible to build a green purple deck, like a more traditional build that has a ton of outs to Diablo and crushes Diablo decks. That's more than possible. So I don't know. That's where I'm looking, and I think would be quite easy to bring you around to that camp.
I think Green Purple is a bad deck,
Do you? Yeah.
I hate it. No.
Textbook.
I played it today at locals. I crushed Green Steel, really, to be honest. 4-1 or something we played. We played multiple matches, I think 4-1. But I lost a close game to a friend of mine who played Emerald, this card.
Okay. Yep.
Which was a lot harder because I tagged for. Yeah, I wasn't too much prepared for Muses, so Muses got me really, really hard. And also Prince John into You Have Forgotten Me is just still a stupid line, like hard to come back from that. I don't think the matchup is really, really bad or something. Just I wasn't aware of that. And then I had a red purple. I won that 2-0. Yeah, the matchup feels still good.
Yeah.
I think what you said before has a lot more meaning that the people think. Like it was not targeted at all. Nobody did care about Diablo at all in the last meta. Not one bit. Maybe a bit. Some people played one or two Fire the Cans or something. But it's not. If Diablo is the main target of a meta, that's a complete shift from the power level of a deck that contains Diablo. That's. I think you can't really compare the power level then from that deck. At least. I mean, that's probably just me, and people will correct me or something. But I still think the green purple Diablo deck was way more reliant on Diablo than Green Steel, but that's just my feeling. Because Green Steel had, I don't know, they had Ursula and Morph into Beast, and they were more. I think they were just more. It's just my feeling, but that has not to be correct.
I get it.
That doesn't mean to be correct. But I wasn't intrigued by the deck at all, so probably a bit biased there. So take that with a bit of salt, or how can you say that? But yeah, green purple tempo is. Also, I mean, at least it's not a bad deck. You have a fair matchup spread, and you will not be disappointed by the deck if you play it correctly. Still, it's a hard deck to pilot, and there's a ton of things to explore, and how you build it, and how you. For now, I would just say, slam your deck with evasives, with evasives, and just slam the deck. Yeah, just slam it full with evasives, and just chip damage you to 20. You know, it's quite easy against a lot of matchups to just quest with your random Pegasuses and Sahisses and stuff, and just quest your way to 20, and you have still goats and stuff, and sometimes pretty easy, especially if you don't have to be afraid of Sisus or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's one thing before we get too far from it that you
Mm-hmm.
said about your experience at locals that I want to loop back to
Mm-hmm.
before I forget about it, which is you talked about yellow green discard, which I also think is a really terrifying deck.
Mm-hmm.
I am really afraid of the muses at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
As a card, as a singular card,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess you can attach Prince John to this as well because it falls into the same camp of low strength ward threat, the kind of thing that so easily just gets swept up by Sisus. But if there are tons less Sisus around,
Mm-hmm.
these things can just live for like forever
Mm-hmm.
against a ton of decks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's my main fear at the moment is building decks that are just like a bunch of Go-Go's and Genies and Elsas and everything that just gets perma bounced by muses that you can never interact with. Um, yeah, just to say, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's those cards see a significant uptick. They are like they get a lot stronger the fewer Sisus are around.
Yeah, I think
No Hirams, less Sisus. Yeah,
Genie is a card that's not. I could see that card completely being cut. To be honest, I don't see. A rabbit is insane in my opinion. It's insane. It's a rabbit is so back in my opinion. It's your main way to outvalue people. It's just simple to say. It's the
yeah,
only really powerful draw engine. I mean, you could say some weird. I mean, Prince John or Holy Word are also draw engines. You could say, but it's a bit weird. Like the only consistent, reliable, forever you could say draw engine if you play it correctly.
yeah,
So you could go for that outvalue game plan way better than before. Also, Rabbit is way less um, how can you say afraid of muses? You know, also it's way worse to
yeah, yeah.
bounce a rabbit.
Yeah,
Yeah, you draw a
you're
card.
not as bothered,
Yeah,
are you?
and yeah, that needs to be watched. But I think yeah, Prince John is a card I mean, it's stupid if I say that now, but I think there are still some. Prince John is such a coin flip card, and Diablo 2, like it's not a good card design, and I think, but I think it's not from power level something like you have to be afraid of. I think there are some matchups you really don't want to have Prince John in your deck, like Steel Song or something. It's really weird against them, and then you have this Giga Brick in your deck that does nothing if they have two daisies and
Mm,
something. It's still we see it in our purple outside of our purple mind, and Prince John was always very good into purple, and I think that's from power level probably kind of fair, but from the play patterns still a bit annoying and
yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It's probably we probably have to give them that um, because if you speak before, like when you said Holy Word for example, that's a card I think that's really needed for a meta game. Holy Word is like B prep or something for me. It's like the only way
okay,
to
yeah,
to combat a. I just draw more cards than you game plan. You know, I think that's probably a card that's needed into a meta game. Yeah, I think there are just some cards like B prep the same. I think you can't leave this game without a B prep in a format. I think.
no,
Yeah.
if Beef Bread didn't exist, it would be a dramatically different game and
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
good
yeah.
game either.
So I think just some cards are just needed, and maybe I don't know. It's controversial, but this card as a strategy in itself, it's always debatable if that strategy in itself is needed. But it's for many TCGs a stable. How can I say a stable strategy? Like and yeah, still
Yeah, it's
brings more diversity to the game, and it's annoying, but yeah, we maybe just have to take it.
yeah, it's difficult because it's something that universally seems to make people quite unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. It's a really frustrating thing to play into when you kind of get got by this discard stuff. But you can't have no discard effects in the game because effects like 2-cost Ursula
Mm-hmm.
are really, really important
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
enabling
Yeah.
balanced counterplay. There has to be some interaction with your opponent's hand for the game to be like truly interactive. Otherwise, you are just sitting around waiting for these cards to be played, knowing that they will inevitably come and you can't meaningfully disrupt them. But I guess the problem more stems from like your sudden chills, those sorts of things, these untargeted discard effects, which get used en masse yeah. Targeted discard, I think, mainstay. Untargeted stuff is like whatever. It could be gone from that strategy could not exist, and I'd
Mm-hmm.
be perfectly happy. Some people like it, many people dislike it. I don't think it's something that has to be present for a game to be healthy, like board sweepers do, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
wheel effects do. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. Yeah. But it's there, and it's also kind of the green identity. You know, if you remove this card, a lot of green's
Yeah,
identity
exactly.
is and there are some key cards to discard strategies that I think, for example, if Prince John wouldn't be there, it's nearly unplayable. Like I don't know.
Yeah, right.
It's not good enough. You play maybe some kind of discard cards, but not the whole strategy at all. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we probably have to take it and adapt to that because I still, yeah, just my feeling. The games you lose against this card feel bad, but yeah, doesn't. My first feeling is not the power level that we should be scared of. I think just for an objective win rate, power level thing, not from a how annoying it is to lose against it. It feels like if you lose against this card, it feels like 5 loses instead of if you lose 1 against red purple. One lose against red purple is 1 lose, but 1 lose against this card is 5 loses.
I think I get what you mean. Yeah,
it
I
feels
think
like.
I sort of understand.
Yeah. So you say Amber Steel, Green Steel.
Yeah, red purple as well. I think.
That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to to surprise you because I wanted to say, do you know what my biggest winner is? And then you've asked me, and then I say red purple, and then you laugh me out again, like last set.
What's your biggest winner from this banning?
Red purple.
What a
No,
fool! What a
no.
fool
Do you
you
know
are!
why? Do you know why? I tell you
Why?
why. It's always like every set the same. Like there was red purple played against nearly all matchups the same game plan. Like
Yeah.
trying to controlling the early board, to not die, then to play B-Prep or something, or just slam 2 or 3 Medusas, and then win by that. So there was one matchup, and that was red-blue, where they suddenly need to be the aggressor. Like they need to play Flynn, they need to play Sisu to pressure them. This was the only matchup. So now suddenly red blue's gone, or you can say it's gone. I don't know. At least the Sisu build seems like really hard to play. So what can they do now? They can just make them resilient against every aggressive and discard strategies. Imagine like just slam their deck full with Peter Pans and Yagos and then outvalue anyone. I don't know why that should be not really, really strong. And I think maybe it's not possible to build a deck resilient enough to aggro and discard. Maybe that's not possible at all. But if that's possible, then I can't see an endgame deck that competes against rabbit bouncing. I don't know. I don't see it right now. I don't see the deck that beats like rabbit bouncing, Tremaine, Medusa stuff. What could be there? I don't know. I don't see it.
I get it.
And they just need to get there. And then they are super powerful. And I guess it feels like I see the deck like a set 2 red purple right now. Like you play a lot of Olafs and Thieves and stuff. And I don't know if that's but just survive it and then you win by just pure card advantage, and who will stop you? And that makes it really appealing to me, because you don't have this one matchup where you suddenly need to be the aggressor and change your game plan in against some other matchups they could be, but it was less and less in the last meta games, where they were less and less aggressive and more of this stally kind stuff, and they can maximize that now. And maybe it's not possible at all to make it resilient against this stuff, but they can still run Sisu, for example, the big Sisu. They can run it as a 1 or 2 of, and nobody will be prepared of that. Probably too much. So that's the only sad thing for me, that I hopefully not. But I also really enjoy red purple, but that is just a better deck than red purple. I hope it is not the way. But I'm very excited for both of these decks to play these and to build these. The only thing that was really surprising for me that nobody's talking about Rabbit, and nobody seems to play Rabbit. At least the decks or the lists I saw. Because for me, it's the first obvious observation that there was always Hiram and Rabbit. Now Hiram is gone, and then you have Rabbit. What?
Yeah.
But maybe that's still too slow. That can still be, and maybe I'm overestimating it.
It is very, very slow.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the only thing going on.
How do you mean?
I suspect that a lot of purple decks looking at their 4 slot at the moment and trying to decide between rabbits and genies and what their balance looks like are siding with genies because it battles Diablo well. And actually rabbit is tons better, but that's why Genie looks more popular, is my theory.
Yeah, makes total sense to me. Yeah. I just think Peter Pan is insane right now.
Good God.
I was always a Peter Pan believer, and there was only one matchup that Peter Pan really was bad, and that was red blue and blue steel, you could say. And now it's so good into any aggressive that people think it's a Diablo tech card, but I can just emphasize it's not. It's like in many matchups, I tell you, in many matchups you would like to have a set 1 Rafiki in your deck. Trust me.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things, a lot of matchups where you would like to have that card in your hand. And if they sing away your 1-drop with Cindy and Storm, you're so happy to run over that with your Peter Pan. It's great in any aggressive matchups. And in a mirror, it's good. It's annoying. It can also kill genies with your genie. It's and obviously kills Diablo. And really high. I'm really, really high on this card. And I don't want to see Decklists without that card anymore.
One thing we've both successfully done so far, and is a true, close to a feeling of pure joy, is playing Peter Pan on turn 3 and then Iago turn 4 and rush 4/6. This thing's like Maui. This thing's built like Maui. This 4/6 rush evasive. It just cleanly goes,
rolls.
Gosh, your Genie.
And it just tramples over a Genie and says afterwards, Sorry, was there anything? I don't know. I
Oh,
just.
there was a genie. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Peel,
I didn't see that.
peeling
Sorry.
the genie off the bottom of its shoe. Like, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't see you. Yeah, and that's. I mean, yeah, there's much to explore. I still think, like you said, for the first tournaments you play right now, be prepared of Diablos.
Yeah.
That's what I still think, and be prepared of Steel Song. I think that's the.
Or play one of those. You know,
Or play one of
I
those.
think,
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's like you be ready for them or play them, and
yeah,
that's just that's a mindset thing.
yeah,
Like, if you come to the conclusion that Diablo is super popular, it's equally valid to say, I will play this Diablo deck. It looks really powerful, and say, I will try to counter this Diablo deck. It looks really powerful.
yeah.
Both are totally valid ways for it. Some people prefer to be asking the questions. Some people prefer to be providing the answers. It's good to know which one you are, so that that's like a key to finding something you're comfortable playing. But yeah, whatever side you fall on, either jam the Diablos and the Zindis, or be ready to answer them, because it looks like where we're going.
Yes. And I think that being said, just wraps up probably our. We wanted to make a shorter episode today because we want to make our real episode next week. So you hopefully wanted just to hear our first impressions. We are both very, very positive. We are still celebrating. And I think that that's all we have to say, right?
Well, I think some people obviously are going to want lists as soon as possible.
Good that you said.
I was just going to say, I didn't really feel like it's so sudden. The first impressions, you could throw some stuff together, but I think it's better if we take the week to really digest what this new format looks like, and then next week we can come back with some actual lists that have had actual testing and we were confident in. That's certainly what I'll be doing with my week. And sorry to anyone that wanted immediate deck lists. I don't have that today. Testing is ongoing, but you'll be the first to know when I do.
Yeah, and for me, also additionally, it's a bit weird because I'm playing the LCC next week, and I don't want to spoil which colors I play, and also not which build I play to Moyen. He probably has some ideas. Maybe I throw them all over the board, and I want to, don't want to spoil that much. But after I submitted my deck list, you can see what I submitted, and then you can see what I'm high on right now.
Cool.
Very
nice.
Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you are as excited as us. And thanks for the support. Thanks for watching, and till next week. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye.